Well, it's another day in Florida, and it's about 30 minutes after sunrise, and I'm hanging out again with Mr. Phil Vignola Jr. He's over there in that awesome camper. And today we are at Orlando Wetlands, which is a place that I've been to a couple times before with Heather. This is my first time getting here this early in the day, so I'm excited about that. And I'm going to be using the Nikon Z8 and probably the 600 PF and nothing else but the 600 PF. And we're going to get going here in just a minute and try to find some birds. I'm hearing red-shouldered hawks already. Right out here in this field is a wood stork that just walked by. I saw 3 or 4 white ibis earlier. There's an airplane that you may or may not be able to hear. But we're hoping to see spoonbill, and who knows what we'll see here. But this is a really cool place. I highly recommend it. Normally when I come in here, I make a right at the visitor center, but I felt like if we went straight to the boardwalk, we'd have the sun coming from the wrong direction. So we made a left and we're going up the road here, and there's beautiful, basically decapitated palm trees. And on tops of a lot of them are vultures, but there's also some black-bellied whistling ducks on the top of some of them. And I got a couple of shots of the black-bellied whistling duck, got a couple of shots of them in flight, and I also got a white ibis in flight with nice morning light on it. So having fun so far. Looks like Phil's working on some black-bellied whistling ducks even now. Here's my first shot of the morning. It's a pair of black-bellied whistling ducks flying across over near those trees I just showed you. This is 600 millimeters. All my shots will be 600 millimeters. They'll all be wide open at 6.3. And for this one, I'm at 1/3200th of a second and ISO 720. Here's another black-bellied whistling duck, and it's on a snag sticking up out of the marsh there. Just beautiful. Love the colors in this, and this is 1/3200th of a second and ISO 560. This is a white ibis in flight. Love the way this shot turned out. It's also at 1/3200th of a second, and this is 720 ISO, and I'm a big fan of the blue eyes on a white ibis. They're almost the exact same color as the sky in this shot. Also, the white ibis, when you see it walking around, you can't see the black tips of the wings, but when they fly by with those black tips, it's really beautiful. Here's a great egret in flight, 1/3200th of a second and 1000 ISO. I liked the background of the palm trees in this. And here's another shot, probably the same great egret. This is also 1/3200th of a second and 1000 ISO. Here's another one from that same flyby. I'm still at 1/3200th of a second and 1000 ISO. I tried to pick good wing positions and interesting backgrounds when I selected shots from this flyby. This is a different great egret flying much lower. Interesting that it seems to be missing some feathers in this area of its neck. This is 1/3200th of a second and 1400 ISO. I believe this is that same great egret, 1/3200th of a second and 1250 ISO. I like that wing position when you catch the wings almost as high as they go during a typical flap. And this is that same wing position just a couple of flaps later, also 1/3200th of a second, and this one's 1400 ISO. Here's a great blue heron. I had to turn the camera vertical to make this shot. Could have used a zoom lens for this one. This is 1/2000th of a second and 800 ISO. I think it's interesting that the great blue heron in Florida have a different color pattern, a lot more white in this area right here than the ones we have back home in Tennessee. Both are beautiful. I think I may prefer the coloration of the ones back home in Tennessee better. Here's an immature white ibis wandering around in some foliage. This is 1/2000th of a second and 1250 ISO. And now some great blue heron in flight shots, 1/2000th of a second and 1400 ISO for this one. And this one is 1/2000th of a second and 1800 ISO. And on this one, just love all the blue in this bird's wings as we catch it banking to the left. This is 1/2000th of a second and 800 ISO. And here's a pair. As I was following one great blue heron around, taking in-flight pictures, another flew up and joined it. I wish they were on exactly the same plane so they're both in focus, but I do like the way this turned out, and I went with a wider crop for this one. This is 1/2000th of a second and 900 ISO. And of course, all pictures in this video are 600 millimeters and wide open at 6.3. Here's another immature white ibis, possibly the same one as I photographed earlier. This is 1/2000th of a second and 560 ISO. Looks like it's been doing some preening. It has a feather in its beak. And again, I always love those blue eyes on the white ibis, even the immature ones. When it's fully mature, the bird will be all white, except for the black wingtips that I showed you earlier, when you can't see those when it's just walking around. Here's another black-bellied whistling duck in flight. This one's 1/2000th of a second and 280 ISO. I call this the Dwayne Patton shot. This is a boat-tail grackle that's on a branch sticking up, or maybe a dead tree sticking up out of the marsh. And these are real easy to edit. I'll show you how you do these. This is what it looked like before it was edited. And all I did was crop it for composition. I didn't want this snag in the shot, and this was beautiful, but I didn't want it in my shot. So I cropped it to just this. And then all you have to do to get that cool look that Dwayne Patton gets is take your temperature slider and slide it all the way to the right. Bingo, you've got that early morning glow look in your shot. But this is the way it looks before you mess with the temperature. You can do other looks as well with the temperature sliders. You can take the tint and slide it all the way green or all the way magenta, put that back to normal. You can do all the way gold, all the way blue for kind of an evening look. But this is probably the best look, that beautiful morning light look that Dwayne always gets. Next is an extreme close-up of a great blue heron, and this one has that light color here that I'm not used to seeing in the birds back home. Same species, but definitely different color patterns. And this is 1/2000th of a second and 400 ISO. Here's a common gallinule, a bird that the folks in my family tend to call a chicken ducky for some reason. This is 1/2000th of a second and 900 ISO. It looks like it's doing a little bit of a wing stretch. There's all sorts of roads and they have names. And this one is called Bobcat. And I scoped this one out on the photographer's ephemeris. I thought that we might get some good sun angle here. And as we walk down through here, we've seen several birds, but Phil pointed out a green heron that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, and I got some shots of it. And then to return the favor, right over here in these reeds, I found a least bitterin. I think it's a least. And that's a lifer for me. I think it might be a lifer for Phil too. So really cool to see that here this morning. And this is a cattle egret in flight, 1/2000th of a second and 250 ISO. I was really happy to see the cattle egret. I think they're just beautiful. They're not native to the United States, but they did migrate here, so they're not considered invasive. They are invasive in Hawaii where they were introduced. This is the green heron that I didn't see at all, but Phil pointed out to me that it was over there, and I got as low as I could for this shot. I love the low angle on birds whenever I can get it. This is 1/2000th of a second and 640 ISO. Just a beautiful example of a green heron. Here's a snowy egret coming in for a landing, and it looks like it has caught a minnow of some sort there at Orlando Wetlands. This is 1/2000th of a second and 720 ISO. I like the bokeh balls and specular highlights in this. Kind of adds a layer of beauty to it. Here's another in-flight cattle egret shot. This is 1/2000th of a second and 560 ISO. I like the browns on the beautiful white birds. Just beautiful. Another in-flight cattle egret shot. This one's also at 1/2000th of a second and 500 ISO. And another in-flight cattle egret. And in the background, I think this is a female boat-tail grackle that I happened to catch flying in the other direction during this in-flight, 1/2000th of a second and 500 ISO. Now this is a black-crowned night heron. Really cool to see one of these, and catch it in flight was even better, 1/2000th of a second and 800 ISO. I like the beautiful grasses in the background in this, really nice. Here is the same bird as it's coming in for a landing. I love that wing position. This is 1/2000th of a second and 1100 ISO. Just beautiful, the black-crowned night heron. This is a lifer for me. This is a least bittern. I'm pretty sure this one is an adult male, and this is the first one that we found. This is 1/2000th of a second and 560 ISO. It's shaped a lot like a green heron, but it's about half the size of one of those, maybe 2/3 the size. Really beautiful. And I've seen one before kind of moving around in the reeds, but I never did get a shot. So I'm going to call this a lifer, especially in terms of getting a photo. And this one has a different color pattern. I think this is either a female or an immature least bittern, or maybe it's another species, but I'm pretty sure it's a least. This one's 1/2000th of a second and 1400 ISO. And then this is that same bird, 1/2000th of a second and 1400 ISO. Interesting how the color pattern between this one and this one is so much different, but I'm pretty sure these are the same species. We made it to the boardwalk. Last time I was in this exact spot, there was 20 other photographers. Today it's just Phil and I. There are more photographers hanging out over there on the Bobcat area than here on the boardwalk. But we came over here and saw some spoonbills. They're all juveniles, immature. And we got some shots of them and a few other things here. Saw a red-bellied woodpecker in a nest. So that was kind of cool. And anyway, we're enjoying our morning here at this wonderful place, Orlando Wetlands. Here's an extreme close-up of a black vulture there at Orlando Wetlands. The bar is in the background. This is the beginning of the boardwalk, and there's a gate to keep critters from walking onto the boardwalk, and that's the gate in the background. This is 1/2000th of a second and 1800 ISO. I believe the bird on the left is a boat-tailed grackle, although it could be a crow. I'm pretty sure it's a boat-tailed grackle, and that's definitely a red-winged blackbird on the right. They were flying past and kind of bothering each other, and I made a few shots, and I shared a couple with you. This first one's 1/2500th of a second and 400 ISO, and then here's another shot of the same pair of birds, 1/2500th of a second and 500 ISO. I thought that was cool to catch this battle in the air of these two birds. Now this is a glossy ibis. It's shaped just like a white ibis, but the color patterns are completely different. This is 1/2500th of a second and 450 ISO. This is a female red-bellied woodpecker. This was heavily backlit and I had to overexpose it quite a bit to get any light on the bird at all. Not the most technically beautiful shot ever. I thought it was cool to see the red-bellied woodpecker making a nest in the palm tree. This is 1/800th of a second and 640 ISO. And it's our first spoonbill of the day, an immature one. And this is 1/800th of a second and 1000 ISO there in a tree, just beautiful. Didn't see any mature ones. I think Phil got a picture of a mature spoonbill flying away from us. I did not get that shot. All of my shots are immature ones. I'm pretty sure this is a snowy egret flying by. It looks a little different. The color of the feet is a little different. Maybe it's immature. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a young little blue heron, but most likely this is a snowy egret. 1/800th of a second and 80 is the ISO number for this one. Here's a pair of immature roseate spoonbill right on the handrail of the boardwalk. This is 1/800th of a second and 140 ISO. And you think 2 is not enough? How about 4 immature roseate spoonbill on the handrail? And then the bird to the far right is a snowy egret. And you can see their black feathers. The immature ones will have less pink. The pink will not be as bright. The eyes are not red and orange colored. They're just kind of black. And they also have some black in their flight feathers. Once they're mature, the pink is much brighter, the eyes are much brighter, and there's no black on the flight feathers. And some of the tail feathers will be orange when they're mature. This is a tricolored heron, an adult tricolored heron. We've seen lots of immature tricolored heron on this trip, but this one is an adult, and this is 1/800th of a second. Probably could have had a little more shutter speed for this in-flight shot, and the ISO is 125. Here's another tricolored heron in the top of a tree. This is 1/1600th of a second and 140 ISO. It's another in-flight glossy ibis. This is 1/1600th of a second and 560 ISO. Here's another black-bellied whistling duck, just beautiful. I love its feet, the way it's holding on to this branch sticking up out of the water. And this is 1/1600th of a second and 1800 ISO. Phil just spotted a young night heron right here in this, I don't know, I guess it's a cypress. And we got pictures of it from a long way back, and then we scooted a little closer and got pictures of it, and closer and got pictures of it. And before too long, we were getting pictures of just the head and shoulders of this bird. And as I make this video clip, it's still standing there in the tree. pretty cool. It's probably a black crown, but it might be a yellow crown. I'm not sure. It's definitely a juvenile night heron. Really cool. This is the immature black crown night heron that Phil found, and look how much its color pattern matches the trunk of the tree in the background. I bet we walked past this thing 2 or 3 times without even seeing it before we finally saw it. This is 1/1250th of a second in 640 ISO. And now this is the closest shot I got of it, 1/1250th of a second and 640 ISO. Let's see what it looks like at 100% on a 4K monitor. That's a pretty close-up shot of this immature black-crowned night heron. I'm so glad Phil was able to spot that. Here's an in-flight shot of a wood stork. This is 1/4000th of a second and 900 ISO. And another shot of that same wood stork, also 1/4000th of a second. This one's 560 ISO. In the foreground of this shot, you can see a common gallinule, and in the background, the main subject of the shot is a snowy egret, and it's fishing. They fish by flying low over the water, and they're searching constantly for minnows. And sometimes they'll drag their feet in the water, still searching, and if they find one, they bang their head into the water. These shots are all at 1/1600th of a second and right around 200 or 250 ISO. This particular one is 220, but it is diving for a fish. The whole head goes into the water, but the whole bird does not. And if the bird's successful, it will fly over and rest for a little while on the handrail or some other location. This is 1/1600th of a second and 280 ISO. I love to get photographs of birds right as they are landing because their wing positions are interesting. And then I thought the bird was just beautiful, so I made a photograph of it there on the handrail. This is 1/2500th of a second and 250 ISO. The snowy egret's one of my favorite of the wading birds. It's just so beautiful. I love the bright white color with the yellow accents and the black as well. Here's another snowy egret. This one's not doing fishing so much. It's just kind of out flying around. This one's 1/2500th of a second and 400 ISO. Now here's a pair of immature tricolored heron flying in. This is 1/1600th of a second and 100 ISO. I love that they were on pretty much the same plane, so I could get them both in focus in the same shot while staying wide open at 6.3. Beautiful immature roseate spoonbill walking along the handrail there on the boardwalk at Orlando Wetlands. This is 1/1600th of a second and 160 ISO. Here's an in-flight shot of an anhinga, also known as a snake bird. This is 1/1600th of a second and 200 ISO. I love the way the tail feathers fan out so much, almost like a broom. Well, we are back on Bobcat. Had fun over at the boardwalk. We're back on Bobcat. It is getting hot. It's about 9:30. And unlike yesterday when we were at Gatorland, where you really can't even start until 10 o'clock unless you have a photographer pass, today we started close to sunrise and we're getting done at 10 o'clock instead of starting at 10 o'clock. So I think today's going to be a better day than yesterday, even though yesterday we got much closer to birds. Here's another in-flight shot of a cattle egret. You know, I don't think I got a single shot of a cattle egret that wasn't in flight, so that's kind of unusual. This is 1/2000th of a second and 140 ISO. And once again, I do love the beautiful coloration of this. You got the bright beak and the bright eye and the bright white bird with beautiful brown accents in the feathers. This is a little blue heron, not to be confused with a great blue heron. And when they are young, they're solid white. And when they're adult, they're blue. And this one is transitioning from white to blue. So I thought that was really beautiful. Didn't get the greatest shot of it. It was pretty far away, but I was happy to see one in this color pattern. This is 1/1250th of a second and 560 ISO. Hey, we survived it. It's 1,000 degrees outside, but we have made it. Holy cow, just as soon as I say it's 1,000 degrees, a wonderful breeze has started blowing through. But we're here at Orlando Wetlands. We've just finished up our morning shoot. You've already seen all the pictures. I hope you liked them. Man, it has been a blast shooting with you these last couple days. Good times, good times. Phil V over at Photo Gear Fun and Bull City Birding. Especially check out Bull City Birding. It's all birds all the time over there. And what'd you use today? The 200 to 600 Sony and
The A7CR.
A7CR, the little bitty super megapixel camera.
61 megapixels.
Yeah, and I used the Z8 and the 600 PF today. It's been great. Can't wait to come back here to Orlando Wetlands. Today is, what is today, May the 29th? So I've been in July, I've been in March, now I've been in May.
There's a kite again.
And May is good. And there's a swallowtail kite right now flying around, which neither one of us, I think you got a picture of it, didn't you? He'll be leaving to try to get a shot of that, and I'll be leaving too. Thanks a bunch for watching. If you like the content, hit thumbs up. If you want to see some more stuff like this, subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in my next video. It's gone now. He's got his camera and it has left. Maybe, you know what, watch his video and maybe he'll get the shot. I think he got a shot of it earlier. I did not. Bye-bye.